12 months ago, I left everything I knew behind to chase my dream, building up a film studio. And now, many hours later, I am closer to that dream than ever, even if just in a video game. It has been almost exactly 1 year of grinding away, laying street, moving buildings, and establishing an array of different workplaces here on Framework. And I'm not going to blabber on for too long today about all the accomplishments, seeing as that final film studio tour is so close. So close, in fact, that there's only 2 areas left over in between a Bridgerton film set as well as a rooftop cafe. Oh, and some fillers and beaches, but we don't talk about those. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the shop is the only building so far that hasn't been incorporated into the studio. It's currently being stored on the beach, but let's be honest, that is less than ideal. So I would like to try and actually work it into this next part. And fear not, I will be gracing you with my artistic skill again, so to the planning office we go. Of course, in this case, we will include Nook's Cranny itself and set that a little bit further back so that we've got some decent room to work with it just in front. And hopefully there will also still be room for some trees as a backdrop. And then I would like to turn this into a construction site, perhaps for a future film set. I would like to hide this building as much as I can though, because the Nooklings also don't seem to be following brand colors, so my current plan would be to utilize some more construction scaffoldings here. And then of course we'll include some other construction zone items like a steamroller or an excavator. Yes, this is an excavator, don't come for my artistic skills please. And maybe we'll also place some more trucks here. There will probably be quite a bit of dirt, and I do want to make sure to bring back details that I've used before, like some utility poles and, admit it, you were waiting for it, branding as well. Now the front right bit will probably be a bit more open, and it also is accessible from 2 sides via the street, so we'll kind of see what happens here. I was thinking perhaps we could once again hint at some set design, which I did for the Wicked film set, or maybe turn this into kind of like a delivery zone with boxes. Now, of course, I'm taking this seriously, so I did consult Pinterest to search up construction site. I feel like that would be the most reliable source for this, and I also just kind of put down a couple more specific item ideas. And now I would say let's start working on that construction site and also see what my employees think about this. Now, ball hands are ready, sleeves are rolled up. I mean, not really, but metaphorically speaking. And you know what? Let's also get that helmet ready. Now, the first thing here is probably the location of the building itself, and I do have this tiny little nook behind here, which is funny because, you know, Nook's Cranny. And I think I kind of want to hide it behind this, which I know is kind of sad, but if you don't follow the brand colors, you know, what do you want me to say? Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. I think it's 4 by 7 as well. So it would actually go up until this point, and that would still leave me with what, 4 tiles back here for trees. Now the rocks still haven't gotten the message that they're not wanted back here. So now it's only 7:30, but I guess I gotta have my first social interaction for the day and talk to the Nooklings. Okay, they're actually very excited for this, but I would be too if I was sequestered away on the beach. Oh, and would you look at who is up bright and early? What do we think Agnes feels about the early disturbance while being asleep? Now let's try that out right behind this construction scaffolding. That should work. I actually was hoping it would cover just a little bit more. We can figure it out later on. So let's go. I think I gotta go get this built. Now look at these villagers once again excluding me from their club after everything I've done for them. Nook's Cranny's built. Another rock is back, of course. I was previously thinking about which path to use here, if I wanted to have some in-game dirt or maybe some dirt code. But then I thought maybe the dirt code would be better because we're building up a set or something, right? So I might want to also incorporate a couple of these stone tiles. And then maybe they've just started laying them towards the front here and maybe towards another side. And we can kind of incorporate the dirt path with that. So they've kind of started here and also here. Actually, let's also immediately bring in some of those vertical tiles. Okay, there we go. And now I want to bring in some of that dirt path. I'm gonna just try and outline all of these dirt patches with just the middle tile, which will look a little bit wonky in a second, but that'll make it easier to kind of estimate the shape that I want. So perhaps sort of like this here. And now I have to go in and swap out all of the corner and side pieces with the actual ones. I think that this here could use like a little bit more dirt, kind of like that. And then sort of the same thing here. There we go. And I think I definitely want to bring in some of those spotty little middle tiles to make it a bit more detailed, as detailed as like a construction site can be, I guess. And there we go. So with Nook's Cranny, we now have all the buildings incorporated on the main land, which essentially kind of makes this the finished map already. Now let's go ahead and get some big items to hide that building. Definitely some construction scaffoldings. And then I also planned a truck, that excavator, and a steamroller maybe. And let's also not forget about the dormant volcanoes because of the piles of dirt. Okay, let's see how far we get with those. So I'm torn between white and gray. I'm kind of thinking white might be the better option. Okay, let's go ahead and start with 2, just like in the sketch that I did. Oh my God, I can actually like hide this building. Okay, well, why don't we actually do that then? Okay, perhaps even from both sides, kind of like how it'd be realistic. I mean, it is realistic, of course. We're quite obviously building an actual construction site. Okay, so this would only leave the very center open, or I feel like the other option should be completely hiding the center and maybe just leaving this little notice board open. Listen, do I feel a little bad for completely hiding them away like this? Yeah, I think so, but at the same time, you know, whatever. That deserves a little bit more custom design though. And then the excavator that I have. And then I believe the truck was initially supposed to be sort of here. Okay, but so if we hide Nook's Cranny like this, and look at the branding of the rest of the island, should this quite honestly just be like completely covered maybe? I mean, honestly, I think maybe that's better. Okay, that's not a terrible start, I would say. Now that Nook's Cranny is hidden away, I can kind of picture it a little bit better. Let's perhaps see about some tree spots back here. Now, I do still have that steamroller, and honestly, I'm not really sure how far to the right-hand side we're gonna make this. Probably not too much, so we gotta figure out how to section this part off. Maybe we're once again gonna utilize our beloved fences. And maybe those will be sort of here. Okay, Bones is very interested in this right now. I think that would be all right. And you know what? I think it also makes sense to leave room for another tree. Right here. Oh, right, the pile of dirt. Okay, so we could go with gray because it kind of fits the entire aesthetic of the area better, but maybe we go with the brown because dirt? Although it's not like a perfect match to the pathing, maybe that would also more go here. And maybe here. All right, now the area definitely needs some trees. I feel like this volcano is currently still a bit mismatched, but since I might want to include a couple of boxes here, perhaps that'll kind of tie those two together. Let's go ahead and grow some of those trees. Ugh, not the rain. Well, it's good for nature, I suppose. Wait, wouldn't a rock in the area that I'm currently working on sort of make sense? So maybe they are actually wanted. Now, let's move that hardwood tree a little bit further to the front. And then I feel like, honestly, all the trees here can probably just grow fully because I don't think you will even be able to go back here. And then how about we have a couple more rocks already put in place over here? Okay, Bones is interested in the trees. Okay, interesting. And then I would say, let's get out of the rain. I just received news of someone actually visiting Framework today. Interesting. Mott seems to star in some type of, well, I was gonna say high school drama, but I do think he would be the teacher, right? Well, enjoy your stay. So after what has been an impromptu rock garden moment, nice. Okay, there we go. Let's return this to its previous state. With 3 of the rocks here, one of them now here in front of the set, and another one here at the street corner, that only leaves 1 rock not accounted for. There we go. Something about this fence isn't quite right, and I feel like I want to have a cedar tree exactly here, kind of where the fence is. So I'm gonna have to switch some things around here. Yeah, I think this works a little bit better also with that steamroller there. So I'll just make sure this also has some codes underneath. Okay, perfect. And then I would say, since we've got the branding over here, let's also bring that to this fence. Yep. Everything is better with branding. By the way, the villagers seem to once again be avoiding this area. I mean, I kind of get it with the construction vibe going on, but also I'm feeling a little lonely, you know? And then speaking of branding, let's maybe also try to spread around some vertical banners in the back, and then we can fully move on to the details in the front. So far, I've only been able to incorporate one flag, which is obviously not enough. So let's maybe try one here as well. Or maybe just right at the street corner there. Also not ideal. I think maybe right here would be all right if I maybe can place something else just behind it or in front. I'll kind of leave it here for now. I did also bring some fencing because I thought just around this corner here, we could maybe install the trusted iron and stone fencing. And then I thought this front part is obviously not finished yet. So how about we use some rope fence here? And now I think I might just want to go and look for some more items to use. Maybe a tool cart, probably some trash bags, this jackhammer, an outdoor generator, maybe some safety barriers, a cone. Let's also grab a step ladder and this iron frame. And I think these hand carts would also be quite nice. Now, perhaps the jackhammer, because obviously these stones would have to still get removed. And then I think let's put one of the iron frames here. Okay, we have someone who's interested. Walker, our runner, that joke will just never get old, is wandering around. Just be careful, please. Don't hurt yourself. And then how do we feel about a couple of wheat fields? Just like there and maybe here. Honestly, I think we're already getting to a pretty good place here. Now, I do think I should utilize the space on the construction scaffoldings as well as the iron frames on the left and right. And it feels like this area right here is a little bit empty. And of course, we cannot forget about the front right part. Let's also kind of fill some of these visual gaps right in the center with just a few strategically placed weeds. And then how about we grab some of those miscellaneous things? Definitely some bottle crates and some stacked bags. Every decent construction area needs a tape deck. I think a tin bucket could work. Maybe some office materials. And then let's also grab a toolbox, as well as these paint cans and spray can. Oh, and maybe this plastic canister. First things first. Yep, that's pretty awesome. Okay, let's try the toolbox on here. Some paint cans just here. And then maybe the plastic canister can just go over to this side. Maybe like this. I am not loving the toolbox right here. Let's instead just try the spray can. You know what? I think that is better. And then this iron frame here actually can't hold anything that's too large because otherwise we block the branding. Unacceptable. Now I think I want to get some more stack bags for right here. And then something relatively small for on top of the iron frame. Like, what about this clipboard here? Okay, admittedly, that is very small. Maybe I can actually put this over here. Now, something I could imagine here is a sandwich. I currently don't have one, so these scones will have to do. Or some snacks. And then let's put the equivalent, aka some decorative bottles, just over here. And with that, I would honestly say that this left side here is probably done. Since this is a construction site, I don't necessarily want to use any flowers because, you know, they'd just be in the way. But we do still have this space here to take care of. Now, the idea here, according to our sketch, was obviously some boxes and delivery and also maybe some set design aspects. And in that regard, I actually prepped a couple of things and got some of these standees because I thought these might be good in terms of filming props that we have already delivered to this soon and upcoming set. I could also see a mop in between these things. And then of course I do want to bring in the cardboard boxes that I planned on. But let's get started with the trees because they are definitely the biggest item and they're gonna block quite a bit. Maybe we could just have one like here with some boxes just behind. And then the awesome thing about the standees is that you can layer them quite nicely. And then I definitely wanted to bring in some more of those paint cans. And so, what do we think? Now, I feel like the boxes did exactly what I hoped they would do, and they kind of tie in that like pile of dirt on the left. There's not necessarily any of that color in like the back right, but I think it's kind of okay, and I hope that it still comes across what I was trying to do here. And then I did discover that this here makes an obnoxiously loud sound, and I'm kind of contemplating whether I should leave that on so that if you run past it, it does actually sound like a construction site, and maybe I'll even bring a second one back here. But I think for me still working on the island now, I might have to turn it off because otherwise I'm gonna be really annoyed really quickly. Okay, I can't find a place to work it in, and the sound really, oh my gosh, my ears. So it seems the next framework set is now underway. Whatever set will be built here, whatever movie will be filmed here, I'm sure it'll be fantastic. What do you think this would be? Admittedly, there might be some missing fillers just behind Nook's Cranny, but let's not forget this isn't the only area that we want to work on today. So you won't have to worry about the fillers, and instead, let's focus on the next area. Now, this next part is a little bit of a full circle moment, and I did tease this a little bit when I was working on the rooftop cafe. Maybe I oversold it, but essentially I would like to build up another big soundstage. For this one, of course, I also consulted Pinterest, and I was able to include some of the earliest inspo pictures for this island, as well as the sound stages that we already did build up by the entrance. So if we switch to the sketch, unsurprisingly, that inspiration is relatively straightforward, and the main goal will be to have a big fake build. Or aka, this build is basically my own love letter to white display stands. They do deserve their moment for this island though. And also, this might quite possibly be our last chance to use branding. Now for this one, I would definitely like to use some of that stone path, and then I am somewhat hopeful that I will be able to include some parabolic antennas, maybe also some solar panels on the roof or side, and maybe some tanks as well. And of course, if possible, we'll definitely include some more trees. And with the basic structure standing, I then want to definitely make sure to bring in quite a bit of filming equipment as well. Once again, probably our last chance. So we'll bring in some cameras, maybe another truck, director's chairs, cables, scripts, and so on. So let's see what we can do. Now this space is kind of opposite to the one prior because it is quite wide, but it is not very deep whatsoever. Now I definitely want this to look especially good from like the cafe space up here. And I am toying with the idea of doing a 3-tiered build. And so, you know what's coming, right? We do have to put on our trusty helmet. And then maybe we just attempt to kind of build up that cliff here and check out how much is actually even visible from the cafe. And it is also about time to move that workstation over to the beach because I am quite literally running out of space now. And then let's grab that first round of white display stands. I definitely meant it when I said this would be a love letter to white display stands. Okay, that is definitely quite a building. This would be kind of nice though because it is quite impressive. And if there's one thing I want to do with my film studio, then it's impress people. It would also actually completely fit into the frame from here, which I think would be really good. Now I would say it is still a little bit far off into the distance, and I hope that we all agree in that it needs to be way bigger. Let me extend the platform over to the right-hand side by like maybe 2 more white display stands, and then maybe also 2 tiles to the front. We're gonna need more display stands. Oh my god. No, this is completely normal. These are very normal dimensions. Now, with 2 tiles towards the front, I cannot get it fully in frame anymore. So perhaps we need to backtrack 1 tile. Yes, that just barely fits on there as well, but I think that's all right. Right, so I gotta pull these backwards, this and this, and then let's shape away this front part of the cliff. Now, since I can't really imitate that block shape that I originally had in my sketch, I think I might want to embrace this kind of layered look. And maybe on the right-hand side, we can extend that second layer, and on the left-hand side, we'll extend the first layer a little bit more. Which means we're gonna need a little bit more cliff over here. And then of course I'll have to extend the upper cliff as well. Or However, maybe that is a little bit too much. Let's take it back by one display stand and make that section on the left a little bit larger. Now that may be a little bit over the top, but at the same time, I think this might work if we just add a few details here and there. I actually think I will bring the front part a little bit further to the front so that we can add an extra layer of cliff there and then add in some items just in front. Also, I basically want to cover this entire part with the stone pathing, and then we might just have to carve it out here and there for some trees. And now we gotta add a little bit or a lot of spice. Oh, and also I should probably be spreading around some of those vertical stone pieces. There we go. And now let's go ahead and get some of the things that were also in the sketch. I'm definitely gonna grab a couple of vertical banners, the parabolic antenna. I might also try some solar panels, and I will also be sure to grab a truck. And let me also grab some tanks. According to the sketch, the tank would somewhat go here, and then the first possible tree might be here, and the antenna would be placed on the other side right here. Now this space up here is actually not even enough for an antenna because I think that they're a 3x3 item. We might get away with a vertical banner though, and perhaps another utility pole. Now I definitely like the antenna on the left. I might want to twist it the other way around, but those are details. I don't know how to feel about the flag up on top of the soundstage. I know I'm usually not a fan of the sky, but in this case, I think I might like the distance between the building and the antenna now. And I also like the banner and utility pole when it's a tier lower. I'm still not sure how I feel about the part on top. Now I've had this prepped for a while, but it's finally time for the stage 3 sign. Oh my god, it doesn't actually even show up if you're just standing like regularly. It only shows up if you go into picture mode. Okay, honestly, I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't think there is any solution for me in this case. So I might just have to go with that. Maybe we can kind of use the garage door here again, although some like shutter type door would also be quite nice. I think garage kind of comes very close though. Okay, so I have 2 more ideas. Idea number 1 is we put the custom design on a fence, kind of like that, because it does show up a little bit higher than the simple panel did. And then the second idea would be to get something pretty large that I can put something else on top of and then use either the record box or maybe the cube light or something like this. I mean, if we're looking at it like this, I think that we could work with the simple panel and maybe just use it in combination with the fence, but the fence without the custom design. But of course, if you only look at it like this, it does take away from the sign a little bit. I just need to think about whether I'm okay with that. It seems quite obvious that once again, my villagers will probably not help me with this decision. Where even are they? Okay, Walker is at home. Oh, Bones is doing a very important workout. Gonzo is still asleep. So is Agnes. Marshall is also working out. Tasha is taking care of some very important paperwork right now. And it seems as though both Marlo and Humphrey are also still asleep. Fantastic. Now, I think the tank in white up on top of the building is actually quite a nice touch. I think I want the other one to also be white. Oh, and I almost forgot about the garage door. Maybe somewhere here would be good. I think I would want to have 3 spaces wide though. Oh, and look what's managed to spawn over here. You know what? I'm gonna leave that here. This is just gonna be a little hidden 5-star reward flower for us. And then checking in halfway with a couple of the simple panels and fences put up, I definitely liked it a bit more. However, I still felt like it wasn't perfect. The utility pole was now kind of disappearing, so I would have to pull that a little bit to the left. I definitely wanted to swap the meter and pipes with the simple panel. And I think we also should add another logo to one of the fences. Sort of like this. Now, I think we're gonna have to bring in some of those trucks. So let's put one here. And the other one right here. And then I do think I'm going to extend this path here by 1 more tile. And then we can also use the sidewalk tile for kind of a nice ending here. Okay, decent instincts with the trucks. I just think we have to actually flip them around. So the black one will go over here and in front. And the white one will go back here. Okay, still not great. Okay, next try. Let's place them this way around so they look like they're almost either parking or maybe delivering something. Now, I didn't think this was ever gonna happen, but you know what I think the problem is? This flag here. And the tree. So maybe that second truck just needs to go way to the side. That's better, but not great. That might be the best solution so far. I do think we should switch it to the white truck though. But before I did that and also got lost in a lot more details, I made sure to place some fence along the back of the island and then also planted a couple more trees back here. All right, so far so good. A couple of trees still have to grow, but I would say we've got the framework down, you know, because we're in framework. Listen, I don't have much more time to do these bad jokes on this island, so I gotta cram a few more in, you know? I swapped the tank, fence, and truck all to the white customization, and now I gotta figure out what other items I want to use in front of the soundstage. Now, I did sketch out some director's chairs, as well as TV cameras, and I'll also grab some of the studio spotlights. And then I want to try the storage shed, effects racks, of course. Let's also take an outdoor air conditioner, some boxes, another mop. I also want to grab some trash bags, but I seem to have run out, so I gotta acquire a couple more of those. I think another one of these signs could be nice. The meter and pipes. I'll also grab another iron frame. And maybe one of these wooden field signs. And now let's try this out. Now I thought this could somewhat imitate those containers I see in some of those inspo pictures, but I don't know if I like the black version and the white version seems to be very beige. Let's see if layering items would kind of help this along though. We definitely need to add some TV cameras. And another one. And then over here where the trucks are, I kind of want to embrace that delivery sort of feeling. Maybe this is also where I can fit in that iron frame. We can put something else on top of that and then squeeze in some more boxes here. I still have my outdoor air conditioner unit, which maybe looks good over to the side here. And then of course, there's also a couple of effects racks that I think would make sense in the delivery area. Maybe one here and then maybe two just here. Now let's see if the director's chairs look good. I would say so. We still got that poster stand. Although for that one, I'm not really sure where to place it. I kind of don't want it to block the delivery zone and I feel like it's kind of weird in front of the garage. So maybe it just has to go towards this corner here. In that case, you would kind of see it running up to the soundstage, but I don't know. Maybe this isn't the moment for it. I do want to try that wooden field sign though, which I actually don't hate. We could also just continue the fence here though. Actually, speaking of, I did want to bring in some more along the corner, so let's go ahead and do that one first. In this case, probably all the way. And then maybe actually this left side should also be fenced in so that not everyone can just walk onto the soundstage where the very expensive cameras are. That would make it sort of like this. I'll keep the delivery zone a little bit more open. Now let's take a look at this from our viewpoint. Effects racks and boxes I think are good. I'm not sure about the customization of all these things here on the left though, because it is very dark compared to the entire rest of the soundstage. Now the meter and pipes definitely come in white, and of course we could try out the storage shed in a different customization, and then let me pull this sign here more over to the left and then actually include a little bit more fence. I am kind of uncertain about the sign, I have to say. I thought it would be a cute touch, but maybe it's too much. Even though, of course, too much branding isn't really a thing, but you know. Okay, yeah, let's try it without the sign. I think that is probably better. And then what if I take away this piece here and instead install this steel trash can, but like as a mailbox? I'm gonna go and swap the 2 meter and pipes here. Now that's already better. We could also swap one of these TV cameras to white. There we go. And then if we add a custom design to the storage shed, maybe that's a bit of a better color balance. And then why don't we get out some miscellaneous items? I might bring in a bottle crate, or stacked ones of course. I really want to use another on-air sign, some headphones, and definitely some cables, maybe a clipboard, and of course we can't forget about some different scripts. On that note, I'll grab some scattered papers, and actually also a manhole cover. We might also be able to use a sewing box, and maybe some more paint cans, and maybe one of those first aid kits, but I seem to have also run out of those. Now, a manhole cover, I think, might find its place right here. And then we'd still have enough room for some scattered papers here and also here, at least. The on-air sign might have to go on top of this. And I think some tangled cords on top of the storage shed probably makes sense. And how about we try and squeeze in some paint cans here? Now, this here next to the director's chair might be a good moment for some scripts. And we could even create another one of those moments right here. And then I still have some more cables, some headphones, and let's add some more script over here as well. Another thing I brought is this hanger rack, which I do think I would want to customize, and then the mop can go right in front of it. Okay, good news. I found myself another space to squeeze in a flag. It looks as though I have a couple of customizations on my to-do list now to turn all these into scripts and maybe change a couple of colors. And of course, we can't forget about the trash bags. But then I believe I can probably show you the finished result. And so from the sketch to that undetailed white building to this, I would say we can now call the soundstage complete. Fun fact, this was actually one of the first builds that I knew that I wanted to do, like a big soundstage as a fake building. And I have to say there were a couple of challenges and there are still a few fillers maybe missing, specifically around the edges. But at the end of the day, I am pretty happy with this result. And so now with a new construction zone and soundstage 3 up and standing, we have essentially reached the end of our framework series. Now, I definitely still have a little bit of paperwork left over, and I gotta polish a couple of corners on this island. And also I will make sure that the beaches kind of fit the rest of the island as well. But this is basically framework completed front to back with all the main areas that I wanted to build. Now, to be honest, with this island, I could probably go on forever with different film sets and different setups that just kind of change over time. But this is basically my vision come to life. And I'm very excited to have a, well, I would say thriving film studio now. Next up, of course, will be the full island tour, including the DA reveal. So if you want to, you can also stop by and kind of take a look at all the sites here. And I do believe I'm going to be posting the full framework series after, so that we once again can experience this entire island building process. Thank you all so much for being part of this and for watching today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you don't miss the island tour. And I will see you then. Bye everyone.